Hello friends, and welcome back to another video, and a special big hello if you are new. Today I thought I would share with you the books that I read in September. For some reason, I want to say August. It just does not feel like September has already come and gone, and it's October. My birthday is next week, and one of my nephews, he FaceTimes me 2 or 3 times a week and is like, "It's almost your birthday. Like, I picked out this wrapping paper for you," and it's sharks with Santa hats, by the way. And he's like, "I'm gonna get you strawberry cupcakes," and all of these things. And I'm just like, dude, you're way ahead of yourself. Like, it is not my birthday. Like, it's just crazy. It feels like September just flew by. Clemmy is on the floor chewing on a toy. So if you hear like crinkling and crunching, that's her. And I'm really sorry, but I've been working and she needs to, get her energy out in whatever way that she can. But anyway, in the month of September, I read 3 physical books and 3 ebooks, making that a grand total of 6. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and share them with you. All right, let's get a little bit comfier. Hopefully it doesn't show that I'm wearing leggings with a nicer top. This is also how I worked today, because no one sees, below right here. But anyway, let's talk about physical books first, and then we can talk about ebooks next. So the first physical book that I read was East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I started this toward the end of August and then read it through the beginning of September. How do you even describe a book such as East of Eden? I don't know. It basically starts out at the tail end of the Civil War, and it follows 2 families, the Trasks and the Hamiltons, all the way through to World War I. It is a modern retelling of of Cain and Abel from the Bible. I had seen Elia Kazan's, I hope I'm saying that right, film East of Eden way back in the day. I actually wanted to rewatch it and I haven't, so maybe I'll do that today since I finished work up early today. But anyway, I loved it, and I didn't realize that the film is literally like this much. Like maybe a third or a fourth of the novel is what the film was based on. And that's kind of where the retelling of Cain and Abel comes in. But I really think, so you have Cal and Erin's story, that's the retelling, but I also think their father had a brother named Charles, and I think Adam and Charles also is kind of a retelling of Cain and Abel in its own way, and there are a lot of parallels between those 2 generations. I loved this book. I just couldn't put it down. I read it really quickly. I like to tab my books, but I only like to tab them, especially if I know I'm going to reread a book. I like to tab it the second time around because I feel like I can, like, different parts stand out to me better, and I can kind of know more of what I want to tab. And I already know that I will be rereading this at some point in my lifetime. I dreamt, like, I always read a little bit before I go to bed, so I was dreaming about East of Eden and the characters, like, every single night before bed. Kathy, what a vile and just fascinating character. Like, I can't get over that. Wow. I also know that it's being adapted to Netflix for, I think it's a miniseries, and I had seen like some criticisms of people saying like, "Oh, you don't need to do that. The first film was perfect." And I agree, the film was perfect. But like I said, it covers such a tiny part of the book that for me, getting to see the whole story from start to finish is, I want that. I want to see that. And I know Zoe Kazan, I hope I am not butchering names here, but she's directing it, and she was Elia Kazan's like granddaughter or great-granddaughter. And like, how fascinating is that? Because Elia worked with John Steinbeck on East of Eden. So it's like, does she have access to like notes? Like, what's it gonna be? I just think that's fascinating, and I think, to me, it proves that it will probably be pretty good. I'm talking too fast. I need to calm down. Get excited, I guess. And Florence Pugh as Kathy, like, I think that's perfect casting. So, and I've also seen where they've cast Charles and Adam, and it looks great. And I don't know that they'll ever have anyone be able to take Cal as well as James Dean did. Hey, Clemmy. I think he was perfect for the role because I think he was Cal, like his personality was Cal, but I'm into it. And as you can tell, I have no one to talk to about this, so I'm sorry. But East of Eden, amazing. 5 out of 5 stars, will definitely be one of my favorite books of the year. I think in terms of a classic, it's really readable. It's not hard to follow. It is a little dense and slow paced, but it's not hard to comprehend. It's not something that you really have to sit down and focus on, like War and Peace or something like that. Highly recommend. I think you should read it. It's amazing. After finishing East of Eden, I knew that I was going to have a book hangover. So when I typically have book hangovers, I grab something that I want to reread and I know that I'll enjoy, and it kind of helps deter from that. So I decided to reread Beach Read by Emily Henry. I can't even. It was so good. It tells the story of January and Augustus. So January's father has passed away and she is moving into his beach house so she can finish her novel. She's a writer, a romance writer. And so she's hoping to finish her novel and sell his house because she is struggling financially. When she gets to the beach house and moves in, who's living next door but Augustus Everett, who was her college academic rival. The two of them, he's also a writer, so he writes literary novels. The two of them kind of come up with this plan or a challenge rather, where they're each going to write the other's genre. So Gus is going to write romance and January is going to write literary. The book that she writes in here too, make it real. I think it's fascinating and I would love to read it. But anyway, so they come up with this and they do training courses to kind of help the other person understand what it takes to write that genre. So Gus is taking her on these what's the word I'm looking for? Investigations. He's investigating a cult. So he's taking her to the cult site and doing interviews and things like that. And then January is taking him on these rom-com kind of dates. So they're going line dancing. They're going to Meg Ryan drive-in movie, triple features. It is so fun. This was the first Emily Henry that I read, and I when I read it, I was like, this is my favorite. And every Emily Henry that I've read, I've always been like, Beach Read's my favorite. But then I was like, you need to go back and read it because it was the very first one you read. So does it really stand up to that, or is it just special because it was the first one you read? And I am sorry that I ever doubted that this was my favorite Emily Henry, because it is, and I love it, and it's perfection. And Gus Everett is the perfect book boyfriend over Rhysand, over Mr. Darcy. I don't care. It's Gus Everett for me, and I love him. I will not take any criticism or arguments against it. Listen to this. He was always leaning on something, he couldn't bear to hold all his own weight upright for more than a second or two. He lounged, he sprawled, he hunched and reclined. He never simply stood or sat. In college, I thought he was lazy about everything except writing. Now I wondered if he was simply tired, if life had beaten him into a permanent slouch, folded him over himself so no one could get at that soft center, the kid who dreamed of running away on trains and living in branches of a redwood. How can you not love him? I don't understand. Why is he not everyone's favorite? And listen, when I watch you sleep, he said shakily, I feel overwhelmed that you exist. I love him. I love this book. It's my heart. The next physical book and the last physical book that I read in September was The Life Impossible by Matt Haig. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. I love Matt Haig. I know that he's not necessarily for everyone. There are a lot of differing opinions on some of his books, but I really like the way that he portrays mental health. This tells the story of a retired teacher. She's in her 70s, I think. It doesn't say, but she's older. But anyway, she is living on her own. Her husband has passed away, and her son had passed away when he was younger. So she's literally just got nothing going on in life. And she finds out that she has been left a home in Ibiza from an old colleague of hers who she was really kind to one time. So kind of out of the blue, she decides to go to Ibiza, and while she's there, she's trying to investigate what happened to her friend because her friend has disappeared. And that doesn't really sum it up, but it's so hard to describe because I think me describing it might like deter you from reading it because it's kind of like science fiction-y. There's like some kind of like spirits involved maybe. But it was really good, and it was just really fascinating. I loved kind of the mystery and the wonder aspect of it. I did tab it because, again, I really like the way that Matt writes about mental health. His books have helped me so much throughout my lifetime, and I enjoyed it very much. My favorite book from him by far is still The Humans. This I gave like 3. It's like a 3.5, 3.75. I did cry toward the end. I got pretty emotional, but it's not my favorite by him, but I still really liked it, and I still really recommend it. Moving on to ebooks, the first ebook that I read was Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. This is the second book in the Rose Hill series. This is Weston's story. So if you've read Chestnut Springs, Weston is like a little bit of Rhett, a little bit of Theo, and a little bit of Cade mixed into one. So he was a great character. But it tells the story of a singer. She is kind of fleeing her life because she's found out some horrible things about her management, which is her parents. And she is fleeing to Rose Hill because she wants to record an album that is just 100% her and very different from the more poppy country that she had been doing. So anyway, she runs into Weston, who actually ends up saving her from a mishap that she got herself into, and they just start hanging out. You know, it's a little like country, little romance story. They start hanging out, they fall in love, and she's really like wrestling with, you know, leaving that life behind and those expectations and just embracing this new life and this new feeling. Also, Weston is struggling because he, you know, kind of thinks like she's probably going to leave. She's going to record this album. She's going to go back to this like glitzy lifestyle that she has been living. And he really struggles with like feeling that he's not good enough for people to stay, which I kind of feel in my heart a little bit. I've always had felt that way. So it was good. It was fun. I still love Chestnut Springs so much more. This was like a 3.5 star read for me. The next book that I read was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, I think is how you would pronounce that last name. I'm really bad with names, if you can't tell. And I second guess myself, which I think makes it worse, because then it's like people know that I'm bad with names. This tells the story of Adeline, or Addie. She is living in the 1700s, and she's being forced to marry a man that she doesn't want to. So she's like 23, maybe 21, but I want to say she's 23 at this time, and she doesn't want to get married. She wants to travel. She wants to see the world. She has lived in this really tiny village, and the idea of living in this tiny village and maybe getting another like 20 years of life and then dying and being buried in the same plot as her ancestors and everyone around her, it just isn't the life that she wants. She wants freedom, and she wants to fall in love on her own terms. So the morning or evening of the wedding, she runs out into the woods, and she's praying to the gods and the old gods, and it's getting darker, and you should never pray to the gods who would answer after dark, but she doesn't realize it's getting darker. It's like dusk, and she's in the woods. But anyway, it is dark, and the god who answers does grant her wish. She is given immortality. She is given the ability to go and do what she pleases for the rest of her life, on the condition that she gives her soul up to him when she dies, or is done with her life rather. And the curse is that everyone who she meets instantly forgets her. So if she was standing here in the room, as soon as I walked out, I wouldn't remember her when I came back in. And this book was so good. I loved the love story. So there's kind of, in a way, I think, two love stories, and I enjoy them both. It was just such a fascinating concept, and I loved seeing Addie travel through time. So from the late 1700s up to present day, or rather like present day when it was written. It was like 2014, I think. It was so good, and it's a book that I think everyone has seen and everyone's heard of and just about everyone's read. So I'm probably not telling you anything new, but it was so good. And I wish that I hadn't have taken so long to have read it, because it was just a great experience. And I wish I could have recommended it to more people and kind of been in the hype of when it was really popular a few years ago and had people to really talk about with it. I did read it on Kindle Unlimited, and I did put it on my wish list because I want a physical copy, because I enjoyed it that much, and I think that I will end up rereading it. I did give it 5 stars. I think in reality it's like a 4.5, like 4.75. It wasn't quite like a full 5-star, but I just rounded it up for the sake of Goodreads. The last book that I read in the month of September was The Ex Hex by Erin Sterling. This tells the story of Vivi. She has been broken up with. She's 19. She's been broken up by Reese, who is only in town. So they're in college, but he's only in town for like a summer course. And they're witches. So I feel like that's important to know. But anyway, they have kind of this like little falling out, misunderstanding, breakup. They break up, and she kind of jokingly curses him with her cousin, only it actually turns into a real curse. So we're almost 10 years down the road. Vivi is working as a college professor, and Reese has to come back to the town that his family founded for like Founders Day and Halloween. And when he gets there, he discovers that he's been cursed. So he and Vivi kind of have to put their differences aside and like work together to uncurse Reese, and in turn uncurse the town. I actually liked this a lot more than I thought I was going to. The first like 15 to 20%, I was really iffy on it, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm really enjoying this, or if this is like a good book for me, or if I'm just kind of wasting my time and I should read something else. But I ended up really enjoying it so much more. It's not like mind-blowing or amazing. It was only like a 3-star read, but it was a lot better than I thought it was, and it was really like atmospheric and really fun for this time of year too. So it was a good like Halloween leading into spooky season read. That sums up all of the books that I read in the month of September. I had to really concentrate to make sure I didn't say August. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it so much, especially if you made it to the end, and I guess I will see you in my next video. Bye.